Dr. Rockman has suggested I should speak to the question, what does the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints teach about the role or place of money in our lives? In 1995, the leadership of my church issued a proclamation to the world about the family, which reads in part as follows. By divine design, fathers are to preside over their families in love and righteousness, and are responsible to provide the necessities of life for the protection of their families. This means that money plays an important role in my life. We might ask ourselves if this is a teaching unique to today, or have others from the past taught this same principle. I notice a similar thought was expressed by Paul the Apostle in his letter to his younger co-worker Timothy, when he said, "But if any provide not for his own, and especially not for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." Also, when our primeval parents, Adam and Eve, were in the Garden of Eden, after they had partaken of the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil and brought mortality upon mankind, and after they were cast out of the garden into the lone and dreary world, the Lord said in part unto Adam, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground." I take that to mean that Adam, and therefore all mankind, was to work to provide for himself and his family from the time he was old enough to work until he died. Rightly looked upon, work is a blessing and a necessity for a happy and a healthy life. Adam was also told that the ground was cursed for thy sake. That is, for the sake of man. The Creator knew what he was doing, and work is an important element in achieving happiness in life. You might ask, are there any restrictions placed upon what I can or should do with my earnings? In the Old Testament, the ancient prophet Malachi, in speaking on behalf of the Lord to the children of Israel, said, "Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it." This same principle of tithing was reintroduced by Joseph Smith when this church was restored in the early 1800s. And so from my youth up, I was taught the principle of tithing. I even remember as a child, I learned this little rhyme. I can tell you what tithing is. I can tell you every time. 10 cents of every dollar and a penny of every dime. By the time I reached adulthood, the principle of paying tithing was second nature. I can honestly say that the blessings promised by Malachi have been answered upon my head. I have always had enough to meet the legitimate needs of my family and myself. It's a principle of faith. The payment of tithes does not mean that a person will necessarily be wealthy, but it does bring a certain discipline in money matters and brings me peace of mind to know that I am square with the Lord and that I am helping to further build His kingdom as I see it. Tithing has been referred to as the Lord's law of finance. You might ask a further question of me then. What if through your own industry or through inheritance, you acquire more money than you need for your own basic needs or those of your family? Are you free to use that surplus in any way you choose? An ancient American prophet answered these questions in this wise. Ye will succor those that stand in need of your succor. Ye will administer of your substance unto him that standeth in need. And ye will not suffer that the beggar putteth up his petition to you in vain and turn him out to perish. And if ye judge the man who putteth up his petition to you for your substance that he perish not, and condemn him, how much more just will be your condemnation for withholding your substance, which doth not belong to you but to God, to whom also your life belongeth, and yet ye put up no petition, nor repent of the thing which thou hast done. I say unto you, woe be unto that man, for his substance shall perish with him. And now I say these things unto those who are rich, as pertaining to the things of this world. Well, that's pretty direct and blunt, isn't it? For me, that says that all that I have by way of worldly goods or wealth is really a gift from God, a stewardship, if you will, and that one day I will have to account to God for how I have used it. You might then ask me, how do you, as a member of your church, meet this obligation to assist your fellow men? Well, in several ways. The first Sunday of each month is designated as a fast Sunday. And Latter-day Saints are asked to fast for 24 hours and donate at least the value of the meals not eaten as fast offerings. Fast offerings are cash or in-kind donations given to the bishop, who is the local ecclesiastical authority, to help the needy. Special fasts are occasionally proclaimed by the leaders of our church when urgent needs arise. For example, in 1985, church members observed 2 special fast days and donated $10,465,000 to hunger relief and community development projects in Africa, South America, and other places. Historically, fast offerings have seldom been sufficient to provide for the welfare needs of the church, and shortages have been met from general funds. In the early 1930s, the entire world was engulfed in an economic depression. In the United States, the stock market crashed on October 29th of 1929. And on that day, desperate speculators sold 16,400,000 shares of stocks. When the year ended, the government estimated that the stock market crash had cost over $40 billion. Now, that doesn't sound like much today, but back then, it was catastrophic. As a youth, I can remember unemployed men coming to our front door and asking for food. My mother never turned anyone away. She would invite them to wait outside the back door while she fixed a sandwich and other things for them. Members of my own faith were suffering, along with everyone else. It was in this environment the church developed a plan to assist the unemployed, which is referred to as the welfare plan. The basis of church welfare programs is individual self-reliance, not a handout that might rob the receiver of self-respect. Members are encouraged to provide for themselves before calling on others for help. Those needing additional help turn first to their families. When members and their families have done all they can and still have welfare needs, the church provides temporary, life-sustaining help so that the family can get back on their feet. Local leaders determine needs by consulting with the individual or the family. The bishop, who is the local leader of the congregation and who knows his people best, asks those who need help to accept a work assignment tailored to their abilities. They may be asked to work in a church welfare operation, beautify the grounds of the local church, or give service to other needy members. Whatever the assignment, the church believes that people who work for what they receive are more likely to preserve their self-respect and maintain their self-reliance. Financing for church welfare programs comes through fast offerings just mentioned. In addition, volunteers provide a substantial amount of work on church welfare farms in canneries, dairy ranches, and other facilities. During 2001, volunteers gave over 400,000 man-days of labor. And I can remember as a young man working in canneries both up in Palo Alto when I was in school up there and down here in LA, and on a dairy ranch that the church owns out here in Chino. In addition to trying to take care of our own people at home, humanitarian assistance rendered by the church has now reached 47 countries and is valued at tens of millions of dollars annually. Last year, Dr. Rockman and his wife heard President Gordon B. Hinckley, the current president of the church, describe a program designed to help those in third world countries who do not have the funds to obtain an education. It's dubbed the Perpetual Education Fund. And about 300,000 people from throughout the church have contributed to the fund thus far, and about 6,000 loans have been granted so far. Imagine the difference in the life of a young lady in Mexico who worked at a restaurant making $130 a month. After a loan of $600 had paid for a year of schooling, she now works in the dental office and has a monthly income of $660. After they're on their feet and working, such individuals then repay over time what they've borrowed so that others can be offered assistance. You might ask, what further teachings do you give to your people concerning the use of money? We are taught to keep our needs simple, to always spend less than we earn, to avoid taking unnecessary risks financially, to avoid debt like a plague, and only borrow when absolutely necessary, such as for the purchase of a home, the gaining of an education, or the purchase of a car. We also teach people to save, even if it is just a small amount each month. With that, I would like to conclude my remarks. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to meet with you today and to get better acquainted with so many distinguished and people of goodwill in our community. For those of you that counsel with new young couples getting married, I brought a few copies of a talk given by Marvin J. Ashton in April of 1975 entitled One for the Money, Guide to Family Finance, which you may find of interest and assistance. Thank you, and may God bless each of you in your ongoing efforts to improve the lot of men and women in the world.